Hi, I'm Dale Clock from Clock Funeral Home. I'm here today to give a little cot training, meaning funeral home mortuary cots, the kind of equipment that we use when we come to get people after they've died and to take them from the home or from the nursing home or from the hospital and bring them back here to the funeral home. Due to the COVID-19 crisis, I know many of the hospice nurses have been asked to do some of the jobs that the funeral homes typically would do. And so it's important for you to understand how this piece of equipment works because frankly the cots can be a little finicky on time. They're a unique piece of equipment and it helps if you understand how they work so you don't run into any accidents and have the cot collapse on you while you're trying to move people around. So I'm going to walk you through some of this stuff today and give you some pointers on that. If you would like me to come back at another time and you can actually get some hands-on training, that'd be fine too. But I think this video will help you out and at least give you an understanding of how things work. Let me switch the camera around here and we'll go show you some other stuff. Here are a couple of cots, typical that most funeral homes have. I brought a couple of them out so you could see because each one has its own little unique set of equipment and handles and how they work. Relatively the same, but they can be a little different and you need to understand how both of them work. The blue one in the back is actually a heavier duty cot designed to handle people up to 1,000 pounds. The one in the front is kind of a normal one used to handle people up to 500 pounds. Work relatively the same, but there are some differences. So let me walk over to them and I will show you. All of these cots are typically referred to in the funeral business as one-man cots, meaning that one person should be able to load a person on this, adjust the cot how it needs to be adjusted, and then take it out and load it into a vehicle without the assistance of another person. It always helps to have two people though. So let me show you how this works. If you've been there at a removal when the funeral home has come to transfer someone, you've noticed that the cot adjusts. On this end, I'm showing you a handle. This right here, it's hard to do with one hand. This is the handle right here, and that will adjust the legs on this end. If we come down to the other end of the cot, and I flip this mattress up, this piece right here that my finger's on right here, this is another handle here, and this will adjust the legs on this end. So what can happen is the cot can be lowered on one end at a time, which allows one person to lower it. If there are two people doing it at the same time, you can make it happen quicker. So let me show you how this works. So as I speak up here, so you can hear me, so as I grab this handle, you'll notice that when I pull that handle towards me, it collapses that leg. And so as long as I got a hold of this, it will only go down to the next level. I also want you to notice that you heard a click. It's very, very important that you hear that click because that lets you know that it's locked it into its position. I'm going to bring it back up again. It's there. I'm going to lower it down and you hear the click. So it's down to that position. These actually have 3 positions on either end. So that's the second one, and then the third one is all the way down. So the same thing is true on this end, and so I can lower this one down, 1, 2, and 3, or all the way back up, or partial. So if I need to lower this down to the level of the bed to make it easier to move the body over to it, I can do that. But as you'll notice, and I hope you could hear, it's important to hear that click. Once the body's transferred over and we strap it in with the straps, we can lift it back up one end at a time. Sometimes it helps, especially with a sizable person, if there are 2 people on either end, on the same end, let it come up and click, then move around to the other end and do it one end at a time. This allows us to do that. But you have to hear it click. Otherwise, when you go back down, it might not. And you may have observed that didn't quite work perfectly for us on this one. So I'm going to get this cot out of the way and we'll take a look at the other one. Very similar, just a little heavier duty. we have the cot cover on. I want you to know that we are not locked into making sure that the body's covered or uncovered before we go in. Some people look at things a little differently. Some people want the face viewed as we move out of the room, and some people want it covered. We will always try and ask, and there's no rights or wrongs there, so it's up to the families to ask that. That's why I left the cot cover on, so you can see that we almost always have a cot cover with us to do that. So, let me grab the camera. So, as we walk up onto this cot, I'm going to show you right here, you can see that we actually have little diagrams that tell us which handle collapses which set of legs. On this cot, the handle on the left-hand side will collapse the legs closest to me, and the handle on the right-hand side will collapse the front legs, or the opposite end of the legs. It even has a little picture, if you look closely on that, it says it's lowering, as you're putting it into a vehicle, that's the handle that you want to do, because it collapses those legs as you try and roll that into the other car. So, I'll come around on this end and show you that there are similar instructions here, and you'll notice that the handles on this end will collapse the end closest to you. So just like on the other one, you can collapse one end or the other at a time, one at a time, so you can lower it down to the level that it needs to be. So let me demonstrate a little bit how this one works, and then show you something that could happen to you that you don't want to. So, very similar to the other one, I grab this handle, it'll lower down, it will click. Same thing down here, I grab the handle and lower it down, and it will click. You have to hang on to the cot, and if the body's on there, you have to use your muscles to make sure that it doesn't fall on you. And it's okay to have two people on those ends to make sure that goes in, but you want to hear it click. I'm going to do that again so you can hear it. It's very important to hear the click. Now, one thing that we don't want to have happen is to have the whole cot collapse on you. On this cot particularly, it can happen because I have control on the handle on this end of that end of the cot. And if by chance I grab that wrong handle by mistake, that whole end of the cot can come down. And so you must be very careful, and I'm going to show you just exactly what can happen. If I grab this handle and do this, it'll do that. You do not want that to happen, especially in front of people, but even so, it's a very scary situation. And I will tell you that every funeral director has had that happen to them at one point or another. It's not a fun situation, and I wouldn't want that to happen to any of you nurses. So, it's important that you kind of take a look at the cots, understand what they're doing, make sure they click. If you need some more instruction, I'd be more than happy to come and give hands-on training for all of that kind of stuff, but I'm hoping that this video right now helped you. Thanks. We'll talk to you soon.